What's going on, Rafiki Flyers? It's your guy, Rafiki Fly, back with another video. And today, we're predicting the Texans season 2026. We are just about a month and a half away from the NFL season starting. And I've been taking a look at all the games that the Texans have, trying to highlight the ones that I think they're going to win, highlighting the ones that I think we may lose, and some that are, in between. And so I'm going to give you a reflective and comprehensive prediction as to how I feel about the Texans in the 2026 season. I will give you a green highlight on the games that I do absolutely believe that the Texans can win and should win. And I'll highlight in red the games that I think could be trouble and potential losses for the Texans. And then I'll highlight games in yellow that are 50-50, could go either way. If the Texans are doing really well, this could be a trap game, or if we're on a losing streak and this that yellow highlighted game could be like a get right game. It's one of those 50-50 feeling in the moment type of games. So let's just jump right into it.
He's got the moves, the groove, the style. Every step makes the world worthwhile. Fly, eagle, fly, take us up to the blue. Fly, eagle, fly, show the world what you do. Adventures wide and spirits high. Fly, eagle, fly, oh Rafiki Fly.
The Texans season starts at home with the Josh Allen and Buffalo Bills. This is a exciting game that I'm shocked is not a primetime game. I mean, who the heck wants to see another Giants Cowboys Sunday night? Like please. Who in their right mind is going with that? Like, Texans and Bills, that is a rematch of, playoff games. That is a, tale as old as time. We beat the Bills, I think, in the regular season, I think 2 years ago, with that game ending field goal and like that shebang that happened in the fourth quarter. And then, I think we've had history with the Bills in playoff games, wild card round and stuff. And I feel like this is an exciting matchup just to have at week one. It's like two juggernauts of the AFC trying to prove themselves, right? Like, you have the Bills who lost in the AFC divisional round against the Broncos, and then you have the Texans who lost in the divisional round against the Patriots. And it's just a matter of, can CJ Stroud find himself? We can rely on our defense. Our defense is strong. It's better than ever. We just got Caden McDonald in the draft, and I feel like that's just going to boost our D-line. And it's just a matter of, is CJ Stroud the guy? So many turnovers, so much doom and gloom that happened last season that I want the best for CJ, but the Bills are going to give him a tough time. This is a tough game to be a prove-it game for CJ. Luckily, he does have the bell cow, the Sonic, or the knuckles of the Sonic that was a former Detroit Lion, now Houston Texan back, David Montgomery, aka Monty, aka he's gonna mont you up for dinner. Like, hope he's a step up from Joe Mixon, who's been MIA since the start of last season, and Nick Chubb was a feel good story that just didn't pan out, and we have the youngster Woody Marks who showed promise, but he had rookie. He was pretty much a good enough for a rookie last year. So I feel like Woody can learn under Monty, and this could be our version of a 1-2 punch that could support CJ, get pressure off of him, ensure that we don't always have to pass. We can try to rely on this run game. So this is gonna be that type of game where the offense needs to prove itself in order to tell us, hey, are we a contender or are we pretenders? So I'm gonna label the Buffalo Bills at home a 50-50. I'm gonna highlight it yellow. Week 2 of the NFL season, the Houston Texans are going to host the Cincinnati Bengals. After bat, off the back of Josh Allen, we got Joe Burrow at home. This is another like one of those prove it games for both teams, Texans and Bengals. Just the recent history with playoffs and injuries and questions at quarterback and help and all that stuff. Bengals, I think, should be better this year. They actually got a defender in the draft, and I think they also like they got Dexter Lawrence from the Giants. So they ideally they might have something going on their defense, but if the Texans show off in week 1 that their offense is back and better, that's going to give me confidence that we can take it to the Bengals in week 2. So I feel like I'm going to label this as a 50-50 as well. But it's going to rely on how I feel after week 1's game. So this is more of a yellowish green. I want to say green, but I'm going to play it safe and say this is a 50-50 game as well. So, starting off with 2 yellows. Then in week 3, we fly to Indy for our first divisional matchup. The Colts, who were riding the fantasy with Daniel Jones, 8-2 last year, and crumbled at our feet. And, this is a game that, as a Texan fan, I want them to give the Colts the belt. And depending on how the Colts go, I think their offseason has been pretty mediocre. So I don't really see any competition or anything to really worry about when it comes to the Colts. I know history is against us in terms of win-loss ratio against the Colts, but this is our year to belt the Colts. If there's any season to belt the Colts, this is the season to do it. With the questions at quarterback, with the questions on defense, the trades they made for like Sauce, Gardner, and company, it's not working for them. And yeah, I'm pretty confident in giving this the green light, and I'm praying to God we give them the belt. Sorry, Indy. Next up in week 4 is quite the interesting matchup. We got a Texas Hold'em in Houston, Texas, as we are hosting the Dallas Cowboys. Jerry Jones and his boys gonna play rodeo with the Howard Texans, and this is gonna be one of those fan fan buzzing games because it's who's the best in Texas, you know? And this is what, as a fan, I would say yes, we are gonna take this game because why would I ever want to root for Cowboys and Dallas in general? I think that Houston has a shot to maybe beat the Dallas Cowboys by a good margin. I'd say like a good 10-point differential. Just because, Dallas is good, but they're not as good as they think they are. I mean, they're delusional. They did good in the draft. They, I think, improved on defense with drafting Caleb Downs, but nah, I have no faith in Cowboys this season. And I'm not just saying that as a Texans fan, I'm saying that just reflectively and comprehensively. Like, I don't see the Cowboys being any more than a 9-8 team. So I feel like this is a game that Texans are going to have in the bag. So just to recap, week 1 through 4, the Bills and the Bengals are 50-50s. The Colts is a green, and the Cowboys game is a green for me. Next, in week 5, we go to Tennessee in their new built stadium as we take on our second divisional matchup of the season, our first with the Tennessee Titans at their yard. And this should be an easy game for the Texans. I think Titans have improved. They helped their quarterback by adding Carnell Tate at the receiver position. But the Titans have a lot to prove and a lot more questions. And I think Robert Saleh is going to help them culturally and make some sort of shift. But I don't think it's going to be enough to take on the juggernaut that the Texans defense has that will swarm and devour and crush Cam Ward. His body, his mind, his spirit is going to be in jeopardy when he faces the Texans. And so I am putting a green light on the Titans. Following that, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars in London, mate. We going to London to visit the Jaguars and give the kitties a good old cheerio. Tip tip toodaloo. Off the London Bridge is falling down. And we gonna give the Jaguars a bit of a tuckus. I don't know if that was proper British. Basically what I'm saying is this is going to be a high anticipated matchup within the division because Jaguars and Texans went neck and neck last season for the division championship, for the division win. And this year it's also pretty rumored that it's going to be neck and neck with the Texans and Jaguars again. So this is going to be an interesting matchup. Obviously, we're at a disadvantage because London is the Jaguars' second home. And we'll see how the jet lag affects us. I think the Jaguars are already in London for the previous game, or maybe they're in London after this week. I don't know. I don't pay any attention to the Jaguars unless it has anything to do with the Texans. So, with that being said, I think just like how Hrithik Roshan snuck in, stole the diamond from the Queen, and I think the Texans are gonna take this dub and ruin the London home that is the Jaguars. And yeah, then we come back home and we host the New York Giants. The New York Giants, who um, have a quarterback and they have a running back and they have a new offensive lineman and a new defensive lineman that they got in the draft. And some say, hey, this could be the start of a Giants turn for the ages. And I don't know. Maybe they're good, maybe they're bad, but I mean, they couldn't be worse than last year, right? So I think this is a pretty easy green light. I don't really need to explain much more. I think our defense will either concuss Jackson Dart or Jackson Dart will just concuss himself in the process. Not that I root for any concussions. It's just like this the type of defense that Jackson Dart is gonna have to face is gonna give him a headache for sure. So, and that's a good thing for us as Texans fans. So that is a green light for me. Then we go to Los Angeles. Los Angeles, the place that Texans love. And we face the Chargers. The Chargers. I mean, first of all, let me just say great animations with the schedule release video, but that's their Super Bowl for a reason. It's their Super Bowl because they don't know how to perform in the regular season. They have the pieces to be competitive, but that so far as history goes, they're only good on paper. They crumble under pressure, and injuries constantly set them back. And I hope that isn't the case because I do want the Texans to beat the Chargers as a healthy team because that would benefit the story that the Texans are and show, kind of define who the Texans are. So I hope the Chargers are healthy for this matchup. But injury or not, I'm putting green light on the Texans winning this game. Then we go to Cleveland and we go to visit our old buddy, old pal, who's definitely redacted from any Texan history. The Deshaun Watson Cleveland Browns, led by new head coach Winter's coming. Either way, this is a matchup that is solely anticipated because of the history between the draft thing and the trade with Deshaun Watson. Like, if it is rumored to be true that Deshaun Watson is playing this season, everyone is circling this game as the game to watch just because we're like, how bad are the Texans gonna demolish these kids? Like Texans this is a game that we should win and we have to win, not just for the game of football, but for humanity at large. Like we are the heroes of this matchup, and just like Cody Rhodes needs to finish his story at WrestleMania, Houston Texans gonna take it to Cleveland and give them a big fat L. I'm putting this as a big green light for the Texans. Then, after Cleveland, we come back home for week 11 and host the Indianapolis Colts. This will be our second divisional matchup with them. As I mentioned previously, I don't really see much of a threat with the Colts. And I feel like if there was a season to sweep the Colts, this is the season to do it, because the Texans, this is their time to prove it. Colts are in a bad position, and I feel like as a fan and looking at what's going on, this should be an easy green light for the Texans. Then we got probably our biggest test of the season thus far, with the Baltimore Ravens coming home for week 12. This is similar to the Bengals and Bills games, except this one is going to be a little bit more tough because it's week 12. I don't know what the injury situation is going to be. I don't know what kind of momentum the Texans are going to be riding at this point, but this should be a interesting game. This could go either way, but I'm actually leaning more towards a red-ish orange in this scenario. I feel like compared to the Bills and Bengals earlier in the year, the Ravens seem like a more complete team offensively and defensively. And I feel like, this is the time for the Ravens to really show the world who they are. I feel like I feel like this season is going to be like Baltimore's get right season, because they missed out on the playoffs last year. So I feel like the Ravens have a bitter motivation. And so with that, I think the Ravens are going to give us probably our first definitive L of the season. Then we get into December football. Winter is here, and we are going to Pittsburgh to face the Steelers and Aaron Rodgers, the team that our defense got 5 turnovers against during the wild card game. And this is, the matchup that, was pretty easy for us, but at the same time, it was pretty embarrassing to see CJ Stroud throw so many turnovers in that wild card game. So hopefully by this point, we see what CJ Stroud can do, and hopefully he has improved in his game and that we don't have much of a turnover trouble. This is pretty similar to the Los Angeles Chargers game. On paper, it seems like it should be a 50-50, but I'm going to lean more towards the green, because Steelers go to Super Bowl by buying tickets, not by actually winning any games. So, yeah. Then we have the Washington Commanders in DC. This is another cold environment for the Texans to play against. Uh, the thing with Washington is they're supposed to be a good team. Jaden Daniels is a good quarterback. They had a great season the year before, with Jaden Daniels' rookie season, and then they shot themselves in the foot last season with injuries and all these, I guess you could say it's like a playoff hangover for them. So we'll see what kind of identity the Washington Commanders have. I'm leading towards a green light based off of what last season was, but I do think it'll be more competitive than, you know, people might think it is. This could be a trap game depending on how the season is going for the Texans. If we're on a hot streak and we become complacent, Washington could be the perfect trap game for us to fall in. So I want to lean green, but I'm also going to make it borderline yellow. Then in week 15, this is where divisions set the scene as we host the Jacksonville Jaguars in our house in the United States on our time. And, it's December, but Houston is known to be 80 degrees in December. So this should be relatively warm unless, winter decides to come early in Houston. Like I said before, I think the Jaguars are a good team. They are rumored to be, neck and neck with the Texans as the 1 and 2 for the division. Essentially, what happened last year, and the Jacksonville Jaguars took it. I said that we would win the first round. I think they can win this round. Or, maybe it's the other way around. Maybe they win in London and we win here at home. So this is going to be a 50-50 game / depending on how the first game goes, the second one will be the split or something. So, yeah, I'm going to keep it yellow. In the holiday spirit, we got the Philadelphia Eagles on Christmas Eve, Thursday night. It's going to be cold, similar to Pittsburgh weather. It is going to be, but, unlike the Steelers, the Eagles are like for real and are probably the definitive favorites in the NFC East. I know, Cowboys, we said it was probably going to be an easy matchup. Giants, a cakewalk. Commanders, potentially a trap game, but could also be a win. Philadelphia is the one that is like similar to the Ravens. It's most likely a loss in our books. So I'm going to leave it as a red. And who knows? Maybe if we beg Santa enough, he can gift us a win. But who knows? Week 17, our second primetime game of the back-to-back primetimes. We got Monday Night Football, January 4th in Lambeau against the Green Bay mother-loving Packers. These two games are going to be probably back-to-back L's. If the Eagles are gonna punch us in the mouth, the Packers are gonna knock us to our feet. Like this is gonna be the two biggest matchups alongside the Ravens in our schedule. So with that being said, I'm gonna label the Packers as a red as well. But I hope and pray that, winter isn't as uh, harsh for us. But yeah, this later part of the season is what's gonna get us. So yeah. And finally, to wrap up the 2026 season, we got the Tennessee Titans in week 18. It's currently to be determined when this game is going to take place in week 18. But at this point, if the season goes the way I think it is, this is our game to rest our starters. This is our game to, if we are neck and neck with the Jaguars, it's gonna be like we have to win it. But with that being said, I know the first Tennessee Titan matchup I said is a green light. This one I'm actually gonna put as a yellow because if our playoff hopes are in check with this, we probably have the motivation to want to win this game. But if we are resting our starters, probably not. Or, we'll see how that goes. Maybe it is a meaningless game that we just toss away. But who knows? If anything, this could also be like a last minute trap where we try to secure our playoff spot, but the Tennessee Titans play spoiler, and yeah. So the first matchup is a green light, but this week 18 matchup I'm gonna keep it as a yellow because we just don't know what circumstance the Texans are gonna be in, and it really relies on that. And so, with that, recap everything. Bills 50-50, Bengals 50-50, Colts green, the Cowboys green, Tennessee Titans green, Jacksonville Jaguars yellow slash split with the later game. New York Giants green, Los Angeles Chargers yellowish green, Cleveland Browns green, Colts green, Baltimore Ravens our first red, Steelers green-ish yellow, Washington Commanders yellow-ish green, Jacksonville Jaguars yellow slash split with the first game, Eagles red, Packers red, Titans yellow depending on circumstance. So with that, I think Packers, Eagles, Ravens, that's 3 losses. Bills and Bengals, that's could be 5 losses. So so probably 12-5 is a good place or a reasonable expectation. If we can beat the Bills and the Bengals, that is a 14-3 ceiling. Obviously, we have the Commanders and the Steelers and this Week 18 Titans game where it could, be like a who knows what's gonna happen. So either we're like a 9-8 floor that's trying its best to punch a wild card spot, or we are 14-3 with, riding a 4-0 start to the season, or realistically 12-5. It's probably the best we've done in franchise history, 12-5, and that might just be the case again. But let me know what you think in the comments below, how you feel about the Texans. If you like this type of video, maybe you can recommend your team to me and I can try to predict your team's season. But please do share, subscribe, and hey, I'm just an ordinary guy named Rafiki Fly. And but I do like to talk. I do love to play ball. Whatever it is y'all vibe with, I'm open to it. Just let me know. Thank you and have a nice day.